Alright, so I just beat the DLC yesterday, so I've been thinking about it, and I just kind of want to go through kind of my impressions of it, and kind of a review of the DLC. I'm not going to do any spoilers, so no boss names. I'm not going to show you the map. Not going to talk about items you get in it. I'm just kind of go over like broad strokes, the good, the bad, and there is some ugly. But right off the rip, I think this is a 9.5 out of 10. It's really good. It's by far FromSoft's most content-rich expansion DLC. I think the price is perfectly fine if you were worried about it being kind of the size of like, say, like Dark Souls 3 DLC, which admittedly could be a little short. I don't, just compared to this, those expansions and DLCs from the previous games do look really tiny because they really went heavy on the content, and that's for the better. So we're talking about the good. That's the first one, is the amount of content you get. A lot. It's its own game. It's almost like Witcher 3's Blood and Wine expansion. I put those two kind of like right next to each other as like gold standard of DLC. Reasonably priced and just a shit ton of stuff to do. So that's a really good point. Next good. The art direction, the graphics, the fidelity, amazing. Elden Ring, the base game, obviously in the background here, it was already very pretty. In the DLC, I feel like they step it up a notch. It looks really good. I don't know what wizards they have in the background, because I think this game's on like Unreal Engine 4, right? So yeah, just a really amazing job. All the bosses, very unique, a lot of fun to fight. It's just more Elden Ring. So if you like that kind of like gameplay loop, you're just gonna get more of it here. A lot of build diversity, a lot of things still work. So, yeah, more of that. All right, let's talk about the bad. So the DLC introduces like tree fragments that you then turn into. I'm gonna put her down for a second. That you then turn into blessings, which scale you up with your damage, how much damage you do, and then how much damage you receive. You essentially, as an average player, you need these. You do get some of them, say like if you try to follow like let's say like the main story path, the best way to describe it. So if you follow that trail, you'll find a few. But if you're an average player, you really need to explore and get as many of these as possible. So you kind of are required to explore. And I feel like in the base game, you really didn't need to explore all that much unless you wanted to. This really depends if you're like an open world fan. I'll throw my hands up now. I really don't like open world games. I think they're a lot of fluff, and I like a more focused experience. But yeah, in the DLC you need to explore. You need to get those item upgrades, or else you're gonna get one shot or two shot by enemies, especially bosses, and you're not gonna have a good time. So that requirement's kind of weird because they didn't do that in other DLCs or expansions. So I'm curious why they did it this time. I don't know if they were worried about people over leveling, but again, they didn't do it in the last ones. So that's a bad. Also, boss aggression. There are a few bosses where you enter the fog and the bosses are like immediately upon you. Now, for, Giga Chads and people who play this game all the time and can do like blind runs, this doesn't apply to you. That's not who we're talking about. We're talking about the average player here. Average players use summons. I use summons. They're a huge mechanic in the game. Use them. But yeah, once you enter the fog gate and you're, ringing your summon bell, the boss is already on you before you're done casting, and they'll chunk you down half your health, maybe a little bit more. So you're starting off the fight already on like a back foot and scrambling to like heal right off the bat. I don't know why they made the bosses so aggressive. I mean, it's a little nitpick, but it's definitely there, and I don't think it was good boss design from that aspect. Just the initial them blitzing you. I didn't like that in a few bosses. And then let's talk about the ugly. And I'll pull up here to kind of emphasize my point. The map design, and by that I mean the layout. So this is Limgrave. Limgrave, you could very clearly see roads, paths, points of interest, landmarks, what have you. In the DLC, it's like a spider web, like a layered spider web. And it's not abundantly clear where you can go off the beaten path and like get to like certain like locations on the map. I found myself a lot of the time running around just edges, just looking like, how do I get to that corner over there? Or how do I see something over there? How do I get there? And it wasn't abundantly clear. I find that really frustrating, especially as somebody who doesn't particularly like open world games. Now this problem is like alleviated on, you know, second, third playthroughs, just because you're familiar with the map. You generally, you know what items you want to go for, so you just beeline it. So that's my only like real criticism. And again, I think this is like a 9.5 out of 10 DLC. So I'm really nitpicking here at this point. That really speaks how good it is. So those are kind of my thoughts on the expansion. It's really good. I think average players, you know, take your time with it. You're gonna run into some bosses that are gonna, you know, stomp your face in, but you kind of just need to apply the same things you did during the base game, which is if something's not working, tweak the equipment you're using. You don't even necessarily have to change your stats. I never had to. I was running a faith strength build. But yeah, change your equipment up a little bit. Trinkets, you know, talismans. Change those up if you're struggling, and then explore the map. Find those tree fragments. There's revered ash, which gives that same item boost to your summons. Those are also very helpful. So doing those two things, you know, upgrading your fragments, your blessings, and your ash are gonna basically put you back on an even like playing field, and you're not gonna have any issues. So take your time, explore, find those things. The DLC is a lot of fun, so enjoy them, and I'll see you next time, Tarnished.